Let's turn our attention now to the Cardinals this coming Sunday. They have the Atlanta Falcons rolling in, Julio Jones and company coming off the win at Cincinnati. You have also the passing of Mr. Bidwell, so a lot to get to. And none better than AZ Central Sports columnist Kent Summers, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter as well, I should say. And a lot to get to, Kent. So let's just start with the victory at Cincinnati, where the team is, the identity of this team with Kliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray getting their first victories. What do you see in terms of an identity? Have they been able to put one together yet?
Well, I guess you could say yes, but it's not a very good one. I think the only thing maybe they proved Sunday against the Bengals is they aren't the worst team in the NFL, but that was not a pretty game or really necessarily an impressive performance. So I think it's a team still in search of itself. They've got some noticeable holes because of injuries. They've got some noticeable holes because of a lack of talent in certain areas. I think it's a team that's going to, struggle all year. We continue to see problems scoring touchdowns in the red zone. We continue to see some problems defensively. Now they're banged up on that side of the ball. In Cincinnati, they had 3 rookies in the secondary playing at the same time at one point. So I just think there are too many deficiencies for this team to, sort of overcome to accomplish a lot this season.
It's interesting to me. It feels like there's learning on the job going on, which makes sense with Kliff Kingsbury having never done it before. We saw Kyler Murray under center a ton on Sunday against the Bengals. We didn't see that at all in the opener against the Lions. Just the growth curve of Kingsbury, coach, play caller, from what you see from week 1 to where he is now.
I like a lot of what he's done, and you can see what he's trying to accomplish in a lot of his play design, and I think it's creative. I also think it gets creative to the point where it's a disruption to this offense, and it's funny. I think we can link week 1 with the game in Cincinnati on Saturday. In week 1 after that game with Detroit, Kingsbury blamed himself for getting too cute, trying to do too much. He had too much time to prepare, and I also think that was a problem yesterday. A couple of times, the Cardinals, when they did have the offense rolling, they tried that bizarre shift with the offensive lineman that got called for a false start, set them back on that possession. They had the double pass from Fitzgerald to Kyler Murray, et cetera, that didn't score. I mean, it was an odd time for a trick play. To me, you run those things when you need a spark, when things have kind of been muddled up. And he called both of those plays on Sunday when that offense was rolling and really moving efficiently. And I thought it sort of disrupted things. But you can see what he's trying to do. I think there's still questions if that offense is going to work at this level. We've seen what an injury or two at receiver can do to it. I think they're still trying to get David Johnson back to the David Johnson of 2016. I think we saw some of that Sunday. That was an encouraging sign. The development of running back Chase Edmonds and his integration into the offense, I think, is something that has to continue. But again, there are just not enough playmakers on that side of the ball to score more than, in the low 20s every week.
Yeah, and you look at Murray so far to that end. He took some shots Sunday. He's running a ton, I think more in the last couple of weeks. David Johnson, as should be, carrying the ball much more. Is Murray carrying the ball too much in your view?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of the runs yesterday were, pass plays when no one was open. The final drive, for instance, where he broke up the middle. I think he has to do that and respect people. I think that's only going to help his receivers get open if they know at any minute Murray can run with the ball. And I think he's extremely smart about when to get down. You can see when he runs, his head sort of swiveling around from side to side. And he's really quite bright in not taking that big hit. And he's done that his whole life. So I don't think that's a tremendous concern, and I think Kingsbury and Murray are both going to be smart, with him carrying the ball a ton during a game.
Before I get you out of here, you covered Bill Bidwell a long time, and he passed away last week, and there's been a lot said, there's been a lot written. I'm just curious, now that you've had some time to marinate on the passing of the owner of the Cardinals, what is the legacy from your point of view, one, And two, Kent, I think it is fair to start having the discussion about, is everything in place with the ownership and family and passing along? Because we've seen in the NFL where times that has not happened. Miami Dolphins, New York Giants. So it's a two-part question here. First, your thoughts on Mr. B, and then the second part is everything in space moving forward with the team?
That's a very good question. First on Mr. Bidwell, I think, if you had to sum it up in one sentence, he was a bad owner and a very good man. I think a lot of times he ran the team, it seemed, to make decisions for his own amusement. And there's no doubt he was a spendthrift for a lot of those years. There are too many stories from ex-players about negotiating with him or the Cardinals to get past that. But, he also battled a lot of things as Cardinals owner. I mean, it wasn't until the stadium in Glendale opened that the Cardinals ever had a home of their own. They were always tenants ever since they were founded in the late 1890s. So it is hard to compete like that. And he did a lot, in terms of diversity and hiring people like Adele Harris, the first African-American woman in a front office, Bob Wallace, the first African-American to negotiate contracts, Rod Graves and Dennis Green, African-Americans, were GM and coach at the same time. And those weren't insignificant things. As far as the future of the franchise, you would have to think that has been worked out. They certainly have had enough time. I mean, they moved Michael Bidwell into position of running the whole operation in 2007. I think Michael's a lawyer. The Bidwells have had good advice. I would think there was some mechanism in place to hand the organization down, maybe in such a way like the Rooneys did in New York, something like that, or the Maras in New York, the Rooneys in Pittsburgh. So I don't think there will be problems, but you never know. And so far, the Cardinals have been pretty close-mouthed about that.
I'll let you go off that. I appreciate your time and your insight as always, Ken. Thanks.
Thanks, Brad.